guys, Mike here. So, but what a day in the market, and it started off like, woo, here we go, the green Monday, the odds are in our favor, and no, hardcore rejection. Okay, so we're going to go into quite a few things in this video for you. One is a huge streak that got broke today. A couple of some moving averages, you're starting to see these downward crossings of two major, I don't say major, but two big moving averages a lot of people pay attention to, and we don't see it very often, so you need to be aware of it. Okay. Also, if you do own Ethereum or you're into, BMNR, or you're even in the midst of this point in time, I will show you a very short clip of what Tom Lee had to say today, because I wasn't even going to put on here until he made this assumption, or I guess you want to call it some kind of prediction, whatever. I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty bold. So I'll put that in there as well. And we'll definitely focus on the indexes. But I do want to say, be very clear about this. What are you seeing right now that you didn't see in August, September, even October, right? What was really just pushing us up as we were seeing this euphoric run that we don't have right now, okay? One is, where's Sam Altman? Where's those deals right now? They ain't happening. Where's the NVIDIA deals? They ain't happening. Let me give you 20 bucks for you to buy my chips. They're not happening right now. What else don't you have? You don't really have at this moment, which could reverse, the options market on your side, because you're seeing a boatload of call selling. Okay, that's the opposite of what you were seeing before. Call selling is like, oh, okay, cool. We don't think that my stocks are going above this, so I'm going to sell calls to get premium. And if they go down, I get to close them out even earlier. Right? Why did Tesla bounce so hard this morning? People were selling puts like crazy, kind of trying to put it on the floor, and that's actually a bullish thing. And so it started, had a nice recovery before the sell-off, of course. So you're not really seeing that right now. Again, all this can flip very quickly. What else? Look at the odds of the rate cut. Every day it goes down and down. For December, we were at 99% 32 days ago, and now here we are, cut in half. And then, of course, the other thing is all the high beta stuff is just going to heck in a handbasket, and the market's only down like 3%. I'm like, can you imagine? Oh, if it was a 5 to 10% pullback. So, it's just, and really it's just cycles, right? That's what we talked about. They're so euphoric, and when they roll over, and so that's why you see the sentiment. People feel like, oh my Lord, crypto's rolling over, high beta stuff's rolling over, all this stuff. The world's come to an end. You look at the market and you're like, that's all we're down right now? Really? Holy cow. I mean, if you really pull out on the perspective, right? So again, let's get into this real quick. And I will tell you this, whatever you do not buy any kind of TradingView plans right now. Black Friday is 3 days away. You could probably get up to 70% off. I do it every year. I'll bring you the link and everything so you can do it. I don't sell anything else on this freaking channel. I turn down offers every day. But as you see, I use TradingView every day. So every year I bring that to you. So I will bring that link when it opens up, and you can get the 70% off, okay? Now, another bad news for a lot of people who are waiting on this, you will not be getting your $2,000 checks, which I think we all knew. They're talking about bringing that out in the middle of next year. And it's going to be interesting next year, because don't forget, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, I may have missed an update on this, but remember the whole no taxes on tips, overtime stuff, there are, requirements as far as like income. But those people, I guarantee you're going to be filing early next year if the plan has been the same, because they'll be getting more money back next year. I know that money will go into the economy. I'm not sure how much will go into the market, obviously, but that'll be a whole nother thing going on as far as liquidity for the economy from, February to March, normally when most people file and stuff. So keep that in mind. We'll see how it goes. And a lot of you guys did answer my question about federal workers getting back pay. My neighbor works for the government and kind of got different answers, but it seems like, the pensions will have, quite a few billions to put towards the passive income, at least going into the Mag 8s and all the rest of these different stocks, and mostly the Mag 8 really is where it's going. So we'll see if that supplies any form of support whatsoever. But you can see the 50-day moving average streak we broke right here. It was a whopping 138 days. And it got broken today. We closed below. We had talked about these other streaks. There's not many. You go back and look at this. So only 2 of the times was more. And you can see we closed below it today. We had came below it on multiple days, but then we finally closed below it today. And not that that means anything, honestly, because you can see back here. Look, we bounce, we close below it, we recover, all that fun stuff. But it is a major moving average. The Qs as well close below it, as you can see right there, and so it looks identical to the S&P as far as the 50 moving average. Now, something else. This for me is the 9 and 20 EMA. Some people use the 8 and 20 EMA. And so you're getting this cross, right? You think, well, that's not a big a deal. That's the first cross we've had since, something like bearish cross, since going back to, what is that, March? Yeah, March we had one right there. You saw what happened. Another one in December right here. You can see that one right there. And that's about roughly 5%, if I'm not mistaken. We moved down right there. Yeah, about that. And so we don't get a lot of them. You start pulling back, you don't really get a lot of these. But when you do, it's not like it's a bullish thing. Let's just go ahead and say that for the most part. And so you got that on the S&P. You also have it on the Qs. We'll pull it up just so you can see it again. You can use 8 and 20. You can use an 8 and 21. Whatever you want to use. But this one right here, you can see, and that one has completed the cross. And so that, it doesn't happen very often. When it does, you get a sell down. And the Qs have been selling down right now. So, no surprise on that. And it was such a bad day. Remember, I always keep you updated on breadth. I don't get no clicks, and people hate to talk about it. But as Liz Thomas said, the market breadth was icky today, with declining stocks outnumbering advancing stocks 4-1. I mean, again, one day don't mean nothing. And we're in this area I talked about. Stocks above their 20-day moving average, abysmal, 31%. Last time we bounced. Time before that, we were around like 27% bounce. Time before that, 31 we bounced. So, let's see what happens, because when you fall below this, and this is just the 20 moving average. Shouldn't be hard to be above your 20 moving average. Okay, and you can see the lower lows, or lower highs, excuse me, on this high just keeps declining over there when you look at where the peak is on this thing. Now, I will say this, at the very end of the day, somebody bought, or whoever it was, a $4 million call spike, hit the QQQ like right at close. So we'll see if they're going to try to bounce this thing tomorrow. There is a put wall in place right now on the SPY. It's around 660. I'll try to zoom in so you can see it. It's almost $2 billion. So it's a nice big put wall. We're going to see if it's going to hold if we do come down and test that. But we'll see. Okay, so everything's kind of adding up. And you can see we held above this trend line right now. We kind of dipped below it. And you can also see where we rejected that, which we had talked about when we came up here. And again, we're still in this range where maybe we just sit here and try to stay in this little triangle pattern, just kind of wedge it out till Wednesday till we hear from NVIDIA. After earning, you can see that level was a brick wall. As soon as it hit it, ba-boom, see you later. Down we go for the rest of the day. But if we continue to break down until NVIDIA, then right there, I mean, you can see a double bottom right there, that 652-ish area right there, if I'm not mistaken, that we never took out before. So that would be a perfect takeout. Some gaps right below, So just pay attention to that right there. And again, that would put us, I believe it's like around 5% down, 5.5% down. And what do you see from the VIX? These rounding bottoms on the VIX just keeps popping and popping. Next level up, this continues, 25.31. This is why we cannot sustain any kind of move back up right now. This has to get crushed. We got to break 20 first, start heading down to 17. We still never got down past 15. We got down to 15.50 at the lowest. And so this is another one. These two come down. All right. Tesla here, nice big bounce on Tesla. We're going to go over a few stocks here. Where did it get rejected at? Magically, that trend line right there, after we did what? Mitigated the 4-hour fair value gap. So now that leaves us with the gap above. And this one was rolling, man. I thought for sure it was going to be a $100 million call premium day because it was just cooking. And even when the market kind of started to turn, you're like, uh-oh, here we go. It turned with the market. And sometimes it can go against it. And so we're going to see if this ends up still wedging in here, or if we break above the trend line, we're going to go for this gap, which is the top of that, 429. If we reject again the trend line, you can see I'm going to go ahead and move this back down because you still have a lot of liquidity below. We'll see if that trend line down below holds again. There's the golden pocket there. There's a 4-hour fair value gap right there. So this one could continue to wedge. Again, break the trend line. 429 is where you're going. End up rejecting the trend line again, coming down to the golden pocket, maybe into that 4-hour fair value gap, which is around like 386 right there. Amazon, you're seeing this from Meta and Amazon now. They're going to raise $15 billion U.S. bond sale. I believe it's the first time since like 2022 or 2023 they've tapped the bond market. And a lot of people didn't think there's no way in heck we're going to come down and fill this gap. And oh boy, did we. I think it missed it by a few cents. Again, bouncing right there in an area where it needed to bounce or hold. I can't even say bounce, but hold. And, what are you seeing? I mean, you're just seeing market structure show you lower highs, lower lows, come down to fill a gap, and a major discount now. There's the 50 moving average as well. So good point for a bounce. If it ends up coming down farther, that trend line should hold up. That 222.72 should hold up right in there. Okay, so we're going to move this down even to there. We'll just go ahead and take it all the way from the low to the high. And that means you're in the golden pocket now. The 0.79 fib lines up with a fair value gap, also another gap, and a trend line. So, that will be a good bounce points if we want to continue to see weakness in this one. To the upside, you can clearly see 234.88, 240.59. That's where you're going to go on the next bounce up if that actually happens. When you look at the momentum, we got the RSI MACD here. You can see on the daily below the 50, bearish MACD cross. Weekly, not below the 50. Looks like it's trying to do a bearish MACD cross. So kind of mixed signals there on the lower time frames. You can see the momentum's trying to shift up on your 4 hour, trying to shift up on the 1 hour there, which right now bears in charge because that's below 50 and the zero line, way below the zero line. Looking over here at Netflix, I was stunned when I saw it down 90% today. I don't know about you. And I was like, oh yeah, they got the split. I mean, seeing Netflix at 110, I can't even remember off the top of my head when the last time it was actually 110. But the big thing is, came up, reject off that trend line, down we go. Okay, trying to hold this area, but down below here is where everybody had it kind of marked out between 99 and 110 for maybe some DCAM. Nice big discount. Remember, this has been selling down since July, folks. So this is just like Meta. It's just selling down way faster than any of the rest of them right now. And so, looking at the moving average, you can tell it's still below. Remember, I had that 200 rejection, not once, but twice. And so, this is still not bullish at all, okay? Got to get above that 200. Got to get above those trend lines right there. So plenty of resistance coming up. But when people see this, the market turns, they go, oh, my God, I can get in this. And plus, selling puts and buying calls is going to be way cheaper, especially selling puts now. So you're like, oh, okay, cool. So that's going to be interesting. I meant to mention Google yesterday, and I apologize. But again, Warren Buffett got in this one. So you saw the big pop this morning, as a matter of fact. And it didn't really hold most of it. Lost about half of it when the market finally turned. But again, what we were saying about Google, it's as far as I'm concerned, the best performing Mag 8, Mag 7, what do you want to look at? They're out there, okay, just killing it. What surprised everybody was where they actually bought it at, because right here, anywhere from like 215 to 240-ish, it looks, is where they were accumulating this thing at. And normally, if you know anything about Berkshire and all that, this wasn't Warren Buffett that bought this, by the way. I mean, it was the new CEO in the group. They do it on pullbacks usually, like they did with UNH, right? A big discount, but not this one. And then they're up in their position. But you can see, I mean, $4.9 billion stake. I mean, that's not chump change. And it lets you kind of know the conviction they must have to be buying it where they bought it. So again, we'll see, where this one's going to go. Right now, it's just consolidating in that area up there. You can see the fibs above 292, 301.26 right there to the upside. So let's see, and this one's been holding up really, really well compared to all the rest of them. Now, very quickly, we will listen to Tom Lee and what he says about Ethereum. So pay close attention. This is very short.
Got this general market risk-off mentality. So what are some of the idiosyncratic elements that we should be thinking about as it pertains to Ethereum in the meantime?
Well, Ethereum kind of has several ways that it establishes a floor. One is that the value of all the assets locked onto the blockchain, and that number is growing. But historically, Ethereum bottoms when that ratio is about 50%. So I'd say we're pretty close to that level. That's why I think Ethereum probably is bottoming this week. But the other way to look at Ethereum is really its price ratio, or even its network value ratio to Bitcoin. It currently sits at, this number is 0.032. The long-term average, like the 8-year average, if we were just to trade to that 8-year average, would put Ethereum at around 12,000. So I think Ethereum is undervalued because, number one, the story is gaining relative to Bitcoin this year. But two, we're getting this sort of intrinsic floor because of the value that the assets locked onto the Ethereum blockchain.
So that's right, bottoming this week. I didn't bother point up BMR. It was down to 10% today. That's the one that really holds Ethereum. But if Ethereum's bottoming, you got to be thinking he's talking about a lot of other cryptos as well, Bitcoin, everything else. And you can see, I mean, Mr. again, we talked this yesterday, just a mess. But it is in a monthly fair value gap. That's why it's grinded down, so slow right now. If it loses that, I mean, forget about it. But a lot of these are definitely coming to areas, whether it's today, tomorrow, whatever it is, bounce points, because they are starting to get really oversold now. They're coming down these areas. They've been just absolutely hammered. But again, they rely on what? They rely on Bitcoin and Ethereum and something else, unlike other stocks do. And so with this one, especially in the lower time frames, you're starting to see it's trying to get some kind of bounce. And on the way down, you just see these like 6-7% bounces, and they just can't hold it. They just cannot hold whatsoever. And so if Ethereum does bottom this week, watch out. I mean, especially as bad as BMNR has been beat down, Circle, Mister, you name it. Any of them have just been left for dead, just taken out to the woodshed, beaten twice, 3 times like they stole something. And what they stole was people's money. That's what they stole. But again, you see in these little pops, right? These 7, 10% pops, and every time it just sells off. So let's see if you finally get something. And the question is, if it pops, are you going to sell? Or are you going to try to hold this thing? That's another thing. Watch how quickly people try to exit. That's going to be the thing. Now, 3 stocks to watch out for. I always tell you, when things are going rough in the market, what's going up? And I've been meaning to put this freaking stock on here for weeks. I've recorded it and I just didn't put it in the videos. But one thing about ALB is it gets in these long, like 2 to 3 year trend line, these down trends. And then once it breaks that trend line, it goes in these crazy runs. So again, it broke a 2.5 year trend line. Now it's moving up, but this one's definitely not for the faint of heart, because when it pulls back, it has some huge swings in a very short amount of time. Okay. Another one's, believe it or not, Monster. This right here, Monster Beverage. There was this trend line that goes way back, and it had broke it, rejected it. You know, this thing goes all the way back to 2006. And so it's been support resistance all the way through, and it's actually getting above. I mean, it actually got back above today. And, you know, these are green. I mean, these stocks are moving against the market right now. And another one, lastly, right here, is going to be biotech, you know, XBI. And these aren't for the faint of heart. Like I said, none of these are, honestly. But this one's getting above a key level, came back down and retested it. And so it was kind of stuck in this weekly FVG, and now it's using it as support right there. So that's another one to watch out for if you're into those kind of areas. Again, none of these are for the faint of heart, but I always say watch what's going green when everything else is going red, it seems, okay? Now, earnings tomorrow, we'll get to know a lot about the retailers this week. Home Depot is up in the morning. And then we're going to have Baidu, and then you'll have PDD. So a bunch of different Chinese stocks right there. And you don't have to worry about any data tomorrow, because a lot of it's still tentative, so you don't have to worry about it at all. So there we are, folks. Please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out. Appreciate all you guys who watch and share the videos. Think about signing up for the membership. Less than McDonald's comment $7.99, or you can pay the whole year for like $85. It's really cheap, and I keep it that way for a reason. Just hit the first link down in the bottom of the description, and I'll end up seeing you guys tomorrow for another fun one.